Hi, welcome to Drawing Ellipses. You'll be using your graphite pencils and erasers to draw a teacup with correct ellipses today. I'm using my pencil to sight the teacup. To correctly sight, hold your arm straight ahead in front of you with a long pencil. You can sight the height and compare it to the width. As I'm seeing here, the height of the teacup is exactly the same as the width and half the saucer. These proportional sightings will help me draw it correctly on my paper. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a vertical line to represent the vertical medium of the teacup. Then a cross perpendicular to show the top open side of the cup. Now, I've drawn that on my paper. I have drawn construction lines indicating the left side, the middle, the right side, the top side, the middle, and the lower part of the ellipse. It looks like a small tic-tac-toe. Notice that in blue, I've actually drawn an ellipse and I tried really hard to make all four sections as symmetrical as possible, so that the top, if you flipped it over, it would match the bottom and each side would match each other. Now I've extended the vertical median down to encompass the bottom of the cup, and I've drawn a very similar 4-box grid to represent the bottom of the teacup and the ellipse that would be appropriate with it. Again, I've drawn the ellipse, trying very hard to keep it very symmetrical. These grids that you're drawing are called construction, and anytime you use construction in a drawing, you're constructing the setup of what the final drawing will look like. The construction lines are typically erased before you really start shading. Okay, the next two things I'll be working on, I'm going to draw the sides of the cup. As you can see, I penciled them in, and also draw a construction grid for the saucer. Anytime you're doing construction to lay out a drawing and prepare, use an H pencil, keep it really light. Typically construction lines are not erased, are erased. So don't use your B's at any point now. And now I'm using an H pencil to lightly sketch in an ellipse. Notice that I have many lines adjacent to each other. I'm not drawing one perfect line. I'm kind of sketching lines that are pretty closely knit because I'm still in the construction phase. At this time, I'm beginning to draw some elliptical details into the construction. This teacup with saucer has a total of, let's see, 1, 2, 3 ellipses, 4 ellipses, 5 ellipses, and if you count the cast shadow, that's probably 6 ellipses. So this will keep you really busy trying to keep all these ellipses straight. So now I'm actually using a B pencil to lightly shade. This is a 2B, it's not too dark. I'm using the side of the pencil, and since I'm shading, I'm holding the pencil by the back end. Next, I'm going to grab my eraser, and I will start erasing all the construction lines. At this point, I'm using a 2B pencil, a 4B, and I'll grab my 6B very soon. As I'm shading the saucer and the cup, I'm trying to go with the form, up and down for the cup, and a little bit of curving going around the cup. Note that I'm using a little bit of a crosshatch on the body of the cup, and that also I've started shading Light Logic on the interior vessel of the cup. So at this time I've grabbed my blending stump and I'm giving the cup a whirl. Remember, I put a lot of crosshatching in there, and I want to leave some of those marks, but on the other hand, this is a white porcelain cup. It's going to be very smooth and slick in terms of the texture. So I really want to use the blending stump to express that texture. At this point in the shading, I'm going to have my ebony pencils, my 4Bs, my 6Bs, and all my erasers on hand to configure the details. This is the part where it gets really fun. Right now I'm using a 6B to get in the dark cast shadow of the teacup, and I've used it on the handle to make a dark silhouette. The next thing I'll be doing is I'll be grabbing my larger flat eraser to sort of smooth and buff some of the highlights on the side of the cup. If you hold this eraser very gingerly and lightly and use a circular motion, you can almost sort of buff out the pigment on the paper without really erasing it, just smoothing it. If you notice here, I'm using parallel marks of the pencil to indicate a gradual shading. This type of mark making is called hatching. If I crossed those lines, I would have cross hatching. We'll be working on those two concepts next week. Here I'm on the inside of the cup. I'm enhancing the elliptical mark on the inside lip of the cup. This is working on more details with my pen type eraser. I like to use a razor blade to cut the edge of my pen type eraser so I can have a super slick and tight line whenever I need it. I'm using that type of line on the teacup, under the teacup where the saucer hits, and now I'm going around and differentiating some different highlights on the saucer as well. I'll be getting my darker pencil right here, and I'll be catching some of those super dark areas behind the cup where the light source is not showing. I did look for reflected light, and there is some reflected light on the bottom right of the cup. So I have to be sure I try to get that in. At this point, I'm working on the saucer. I'm using an ebony pencil. This is really a lot of fun to try to get the details in. So the procedure is you get the bulk of the lights and the bulk of the darks in, you smooth it, you blend it, you texturize it, and then lastly, you jump on the details and you get everything in to finalize the drawing. Here I'm using the pen type eraser to put hatch highlights in the left side. This is the 6B. I'm differentiating the rim of the saucer. Next, I'm using the ebony to get the deep shadow on the left side of the saucer. Notice that I'm following the form. I have no straight lines on the saucer. I'm making them curving so that they go with the flow of the circle of the saucer. This always makes a drawing look a lot better. Okay, last but not least, starting the cast shadows on the table. Here with the cast shadows, you may want to use some of those straight shading lines or keep it curved. And so I'm deepening that cast shadow quite a bit at this point. And I'm also using a blending stick to get some of that pigment out and around on this large cast shadow. So what happens with a blending stick is it does get dirty with the pigment. You can make that work for you. I have taken my blending stump with all the pigment on it, and I am rubbing it on the paper behind the teacup to create a kind of a nice textural look in the area around the teacup. This will enhance the drawing quite a bit. So here I'm just about almost done. I've taken my large eraser and I've subtracted some nicely erased lines in the cast shadow to indicate the fuzziness of the area. I'm taking my pen type eraser now to super highlight the rim of the cup. It looks really good against the dark shadows of the cup to have that nice white ellipse standing out. And now I'm done. It took me about an hour. It's about life size. I like the drawing. I had a lot of fun. Thanks a lot for watching.